Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Living Beyond Limits. So glad that you've joined us for our Zoom service today. And if you're joining us later online to watch this service, I'm so glad that you've joined us for that. I am Reverend Jennifer Spear, and we are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living, and I welcome you. And so as we begin our service today, I would like to share with you our mission statement. And so if you know it, I invite you to say it along with me. And if you don't, I invite you just to take it in. It goes like this. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. And so that's what we are up to here at Living Beyond Limits, is we are giving ourselves the opportunity to feel and sense and know and remember the truth of who we are, that we are each incarnations of that one infinite divine presence, that presence that expresses as love and as peace, as wisdom and intelligence and good. Because once we come to recognize that that presence is innate to our being, that it is that from which we come, but it is that also which animates us and supports us and expresses by means of each of us, that then we come to realize that those qualities of spirit live within us all the time, that peace and love and wholeness are innate to our own being, that wisdom and intelligence lives within us. We don't have to go outside of ourselves for our own inner guidance. And so as we come to recognize that those qualities are within us, then when the world is not reflecting back to us those things, the world does not look loving or kind or peaceful, we get to tap into that and bring that into the world. And as we do that, we become a beneficial presence in that situation with those people, and a beneficial presence within our own selves, because we can come back to center and we can come back to that place of peace, that place of calm, that place of well-being within ourselves. And then we aren't reliant on the world. That doesn't mean that we don't prefer that the world is loving and peaceful and kind, but we aren't reliant on it in order for us to be okay. And so I thank every single one of you for answering the call of your own spirit to be walking this path, to be bringing that presence into this world in a way that is beneficial, in a way that benefits all of us. So thank you so much for that. And so as we begin our service this morning, our practitioner, Carol Borowick, is going to lead us in an evocation and do a contemplative reading for us. And so as we move into that time, the song We Are by Denise Rosier is going to play. The lyrics will be up on your screen. So I invite you to sing along, to close your eyes or not, whatever works best for you, and to move into that place of beingness within yourself, the place that is beingness rather than doingness, and to find that place of center. And so I invite you just to begin and to turn within now.
We are one. We are one. We are all one in God, and we are love. We are love. We are all the love of God. Beauty surrounds me, falling at my feet, as I hear the calling of the Holy One in me. And we are whole. We are whole. We are all the We are, we are, we are, we are one in God. We are one in God.
And what a beautiful way to enter this divine sacred time. And I know the truth that Denise has sung, that the intelligent creative mind is within me and is within every person. And that the power of divine love is within me and is within every person. When I look out into the world and I see the creation of nature, which I know we all love so much, and to realize that this intelligent mind and divine love has created all of it, and we are one with it. And it waits within for us to acknowledge and to use it. Knowing this truth gives me strength and gives me peace. And I know that this divine wisdom and divine love is in every situation and in every place in our world. That there's no place where God is not. And I just pray, as I know that we all do, that every person becomes aware of this love and this power, and that unity is there for everybody to realize, and that peace can be experienced in our world. I bless our time together, each person here. And I bless Reverend Jennifer, and I'm so grateful for her and for her message today that I know inspires each person to take her words and use it in our lives as we go forward. We know the truth, but we need to be reminded sometimes, and to be reminded that we have the power to use it. And so I am just so grateful for Living Beyond Limits and for this beautiful, wonderful day that I know is unfolding perfectly for every person. And with gratitude, I say, and so it is. Good morning, everybody. I have a reading today that Jennifer has suggested from 365 Days of Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. People come to the door of professional consultants with the query, what shall I do about this? It seems that many of us have forgotten to find the answers to our questions from our own inner resources. The prophets of every faith have told us of the inner capacity born of God to set ourselves straight and to know what to do. The quandaries of the human mind are amazing in their complexities, and the wisdom of the divine mind is amazing in its simplicities. God in the midst of us knows what to do and is seeking to impel us toward right decisions. Whenever we do not know what to do and when to do it, we turn to that one within and affirm its capacity to give its direction. Infinite wisdom never fails to respond to the receptive mind and the loving heart. Divine ideas appear in our consciousness, and we make right decisions with ease. Every question in my life has an answer, and every problem has a solution. I have faith that God's mind decides every issue, selects every right idea, and gives me true accomplishment with ease. And so it is.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place.
I am the place where God
You
lives,
are the place.
moves and breathes and has
We
its
are the
being.
place
I am the place
where God shows up. I am the place.
I am the place where God
You are the place.
moves and breathes and has
We are the place
I am the place
where God shows up. I want you to clap your hands and sing it with me. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Eddie Watkins, Husk, can I have some more of that? Can we have
How fun was that? That's Eddie Watkins Jr., if you don't know him. And I think he was filming that actually was from Mile High Church in Colorado. And so I think all of you know that last week we started what we're calling what is called a kindness project. And what that kindness project is every single day we are writing down a kindness that somebody shared with us, and then writing down also a kindness that we shared with another person. And if you haven't been doing that, I invite you to participate in that. There is a link on our website that has that document that you can print out, or you could just keep a journal of your own. And we are doing that actually as a part of the Season for Nonviolence, which is all about creating a culture of nonviolence and a culture of peace, both within ourselves and all around us. Because I think, and maybe you're also experiencing this, that it seems really easy to get overwhelmed these days. It feels like prior to the pandemic, we could just kind of go through our daily lives and do whatever it is that we wanted to do and not have to give it much thought. We didn't have to think about it too much. It was just really easy to be in the moment, doing whatever it is that we were doing and enjoying ourselves while we were doing it in that moment. And now it kind of seems like almost everything requires that some thought, or requires some analysis, or requires decisions or vigilance. Things seem really complicated lately. From asking ourselves the question, do I want to go to that event? Or do I want to go on that cruise that I was planning on going to? Or to that concert, or on that vacation? Do I want to go to that event? Are there going to be too many people there? Are people going to be masked or not masked? Are the people that are going to be wherever I'm going, including even if it's my own family, or even if it's just the people in my neighborhood or whatever, are they safe to be around? Can I eat indoors, or do I still need to be outdoors because it's kind of cold at night and I really would rather be indoors than outdoors, but is that safe? All the way down to, should we continue to be meeting on Zoom to do church, or should we move back to Skylinks and do church indoors? Which we are doing next week, as we are going back to Skylinks and going to begin being indoors again. So I hope that you all will be there. And then just silly things every day, like, what in the world am I going to make for dinner? It just seems like there are so many decisions to make and so many things to think about right now. And then on top of that, we just have things in the world that seem to be in constant flux, that are constantly changing. And we ask ourselves, what are the rules today? I don't even know what the rules are today. And am I making the decisions that I'm making out of fear, or am I making those decisions out of wisdom? It feels kind of like a lot of us have decision fatigue these days. And I don't know about you, but some days I just feel exhausted from all of it. We want to be able to make clear and sound decisions. We want to know what the right thing is to do and what the wrong thing is to do. We want to know when it is that we should be doing whatever it is and when we should not be doing it. We want to know what to do and when to do it. And so I'd like to share a story with you, and it goes like this. A great sage was known across the land for his profound wisdom and brilliant guidance. Many people traveled far and wide to sit at his feet and absorb his vast wisdom. One day he told his students, I have a confession to make. A wizard has placed a spell on me. This spell brings with it news, both good and bad. The good news is that half of what I tell you is the absolute truth, direct from the mouth of God. If you grasp that wisdom and put it into practice, your life will change in miraculous ways, and you will experience lifelong happiness. The bad news is that the other half of what I tell you is pure illusion and horrible distortion of truth. If you follow that guidance, your life will be ruined, and you will be sorry that you ever met me. My dilemma, my friends, is I don't know which is which. Centers for Spiritual Living teaches that we all have the wisdom of the divine within us, that is part of our own beingness. In fact, Ernest Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, the divine mind is infinite. It contains all knowledge and wisdom. But before it can reveal its secrets, it must have an outlet. We are that outlet. But I know sometimes it's really hard to hear that wisdom that lives within us because we have so much clutter in our minds, because we have so many thoughts that are going through our heads all the time. We also have so many voices outside of us that are telling us what is right and what is wrong. Every time we turn on the TV or listen to the radio or go on the internet or even get together with our friends or our neighbors, everyone has an opinion about what is right and what is wrong. And then when we listen to the news, one news station or one news source tells us one thing, and another news source says something that is completely opposite of that. There's so much conflicting opinion out there. And yet, we want to know that we can make clear decisions. We want to know that we are guided. And we want to know that we can have confidence in those decisions that we make, and then in turn, have peace around those decisions. Carolyn Reynolds says in the book Spiritual Fitness, as you progress further along your spiritual path, you'll find that all of your answers you seek live deep inside of you. It becomes impossible for you to advance further along your path of awakening without knowing how to go inside of yourself and tap into your inner wisdom. There is no substitute for this inner experience of the universal life force. And the only way you can access it is by disengaging from external focus, from all external focus. You will then be able to enter into the heaven that you carry inside of you. In order to hear our own wisdom, we must disengage from the external world. We also must disengage from our own mind chatter, the clutter in our heads, and that monkey mind that is just constantly going. For it is then when we disengage from that we can actually hear that wisdom that lives within us. And so I looked up at the definition of wisdom, and it said, wisdom is the ability to tune into the intuitive knowing of a calm heart and feel what is true and right. Real wisdom is the ability to see things in their broader context. It's an intuitive knowing that comes from a calm heart. So wisdom doesn't come from our heads, and wisdom isn't reliant on our past experiences and what we've gained in understanding from those experiences. Wisdom isn't based on what other people have told us. Wisdom instead is a deeper knowing. It's an intuitive knowing. It's a knowing that isn't bound by time or space. Alan Cohen said, for thousands of years, sages and seers have encouraged us to look within our own heart for the truth we seek. Intellectual knowledge goes just so far. It helps, but ultimately we yearn for a deeper knowing. Because we're spiritual beings, nothing less than spiritual answers will fulfill us. You know, there's an old definition for soul, and it is the light hidden in the darkness. We access that wisdom in the light of our own soul, in the peace of our own heart. We hear our own wisdom, which is none other than the wisdom of the divine expressing itself within us through our hearts. For spirit speaks through our hearts. And so I had a client years ago who her son, Joe, was a young adult, and he was using drugs, and he got arrested for possession of drugs and was put in jail. And it wasn't the first time he was put in jail. He had been put in jail before for some sort of drug-related charge. And she told me that it was the most difficult and toughest decision that she'd ever had to make as a mother. But she did so by listening to her heart, by listening to the wisdom of her own heart. And through listening to that wisdom of her heart, she realized that she could not bail him out, that she could not send him money, that she could not even call and talk with him on the phone while he was in jail, because if she did that, is all he did was try to manipulate her to bail him out of jail. And so she realized, I am his mother, her heart wisdom. I am his mother. And if I bail him out, if I send him money, if I talk with him on the phone, he will never become a man. I can't continue to save him. As his mother, if I continue to save him, he'll never be a man. What would love do? Love would do whatever it took to let him be a man and to let him discover his own wisdom and his own power so that he could live his best life. And you know what? That's exactly what he did. He spent that time in prison, and when he got out, he got a job and ended up getting a house and ended up living this vibrant and full and rich life, being a contributing part of society and living a really good life. But had she not made that decision from her heart, what would love do? That isn't what would have transpired. And so the title of my talk today is Listen to Your Heart. With the plethora of decisions that there are to make these days, and with our constant changing world and things being in such flux as they are, it serves us to move from our head to our heart. It serves us to listen to the wisdom of our heart and to trust it. Because when we listen to that wisdom of our heart and we trust it, it is then that we can make clear decisions. It is then that we have confidence in our decisions. We trust our decisions. Because listening to our heart enables us to feel that the decision is right because it feels right inside of us. And in turn, because it feels right, it gives us peace. It feels right and we know it's right, even if it's challenging. But out of that, we gain an inner peace. When we hear the wisdom of our own heart, it rings true and it feels right. And oftentimes when we make a decision out of our head, then we second guess ourselves. Then we're like, what if this isn't the right decision to make? We wrestle with the answer. What if this isn't right? And then in turn, we feel kind of anxious, and we feel kind of unsettled. Even if we go ahead and do it, we're not sure if it's right. When you are in the midst of a dilemma and you don't know what to do, and you don't know what the right choice is, or you're feeling stuck somewhere and you don't know what to do about it, you don't know how to move forward, we can get quiet and listen to our hearts. And we ask, what would love do? You know, that applies even to little simple things in our life. What would love do? Think about so many times you were with a friend, you go out to lunch and they have spinach in the front of their teeth and you don't want to say something. I don't know why we do that, why we don't want to say something. We're afraid of making them uncomfortable or we're going to be uncomfortable. You ask yourself, what would love do? Love would tell them they have spinach in their teeth. You know, we have to embrace the discomfort and knowing that everything isn't going to be comfortable and really ask our hearts, what would love do to make the correct decision for ourselves? And so let's do that right now. That's when you'll need your piece of paper and something to write on. And so I invite you to close your eyes and to bring to mind a decision that you need to make, or a choice that you're wrestling with, or some place that you're feeling stuck in your life. What is that situation? Or what is that dilemma? And so listening within, I invite you to move into your heart. And then to feel the peace that is within your heart. And to ask yourself, what would love do? What would love do about this situation? And then to ask yourself, am I willing to do that? And I invite you to go ahead and open your eyes and to write that answer down for yourself. In the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes says, the heart is a living center through which the love of God flows to bless eternally. We meet the love and the wisdom of that divine and infinite one within our hearts. It expresses and reveals itself at the very center of our heart. And so my invitation to you this week is, when you have a decision to make and it feels overwhelming or it feels difficult and you don't know what to do, anytime that you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling stuck in your life, rather than listening to your overwhelm and rather than listening to your fear, to stop and turn within, to move into your heart space and to feel the peace in your heart. And then to ask, what would love do in this situation? And then to ask yourself, am I willing to do that? And as a result, you will be experiencing greater peace and have greater confidence in the decisions that you make, less stress, and you'll be moving through your life with a greater sense of ease. Spirit always supports its own expression, and you are that expression. I'm going to say that again. Spirit always supports its own expression. In that, you can trust. And so listen to your heart and allow it to reveal its wisdom and bring you forward in your life so that you also are living your best life ever. And so blessings to each and every one of you on this path of the Spirit and path of the heart, which is really the same thing, this path of self-discovery and awakening. So blessings to each and every single one of you. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so we just taking a breath, we breathe into that presence of Spirit that is right here, that presence that is felt all around us, the presence that is the thing that beats our hearts and breathes our lungs and moves the blood through our circulatory system. For it is that intelligence, that presence, that principle that is at the center of everything. And I know that that presence that animates all things, that expresses as all things, that is itself unfolding itself as all things, is a presence of love. It is a presence of wisdom. It is a presence of peace. And it is absolutely good beyond measure, good without bound. And so today I recognize that each and every single one of us are out picturings of this presence, that each and every single one of us is being led and guided and directed by that most high God. And it reveals itself through our intuition, through our hearts, through our inner listening rather than outer listening. And so how grateful I am to be living this life in spirit, to be recipient of the wisdom of the cosmos, to be guided and directed and cared for at all times and in all ways. And so as I look out from us into the world, I also see that this presence is expressing itself and unfolding itself everywhere as wisdom and as peace, as inner guidance, as the truth of oneness and connection, and the truth of this one family of humanity, that this is the highest vision that God holds, and it is a vision of truth. And so as spirit expresses itself within us and all around us, this is what is unfolding. For I know that there is an opening within each and every one of us to share spirit in the world, to bring spirit forward, for we are each spiritual beings. At our very center is that presence, regardless of what anything looks like. That presence resides right at the center. And it is revealing itself to each and every single one of us today. And healing and wholeness and peace and love are the result. And for that, I am so grateful. And so I release this word into the creative law of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself within our lives and within the lives all around us. For it is the truth of that which God is. And God is the only power. And so I release this word in gratitude, and I say, and so it is. So blessings to all of you, and I thank you all for being here, and I thank you all for your continued support of Living Beyond Limits. I have just a couple of announcements for you. One is, like I said, next week we are meeting in person at Skylinks at 10, and we are having a potluck afterwards at Chris and Peggy's house. So we invite you to come to that, and we get to spend some time together and be outdoors in the backyard together and get to love each other up. We also had a board meeting yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about is doing fundraisers this year. So while we're at that potluck, I'd love to talk with you also. Start thinking about what you might like to do, what you might like to host, what you might like to participate in as some fundraisers to do this summer. Preferably, I think, outdoors, but I'll let you guys decide what you think is right. So I look forward to seeing you next week. And also that we have scheduled our annual meeting, which is going to be March 12th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. So it's going to be a Saturday morning at 10 on Zoom. And so we will have a budget to approve and talk about where we're headed. And I would love to get some feedback from all of you about classes you might want to take and things you might like to do this year as we move out of this pandemic and get to have much more freedom again. And so blessings to each and every single one of you. Know that you are loved. Know that Living Beyond Limits and your practitioners and your board and all of us, that we hold you in our hearts and that we are so glad that you are part of this family. If you would like to stay on and have a conversation afterwards, we invite you to do that. If you have things you need to do in your day and need to move on, do that and have a fabulous day and enjoy this day of warm weather. So thank you.